Very deep beneath the border of France and Switzerland lies a machine so colossal, so ambitious, it borders on the mythological. A 17-mile ring of superconducting magnets where humanity hurls the fundamental building blocks of matter at 99.9% the speed of light. We built the Large Hadron Collider to understand the dawn of time, to recreate the universe mere fractions of a second after the Big Bang. And for a long time, we thought we knew exactly what we were looking for. We thought we understood the rules of the game, but recently, whispers have begun echoing through the halls of CERN. Anomalies. Data points that refuse to fit neatly into the standard model of particle physics. It is as if we have been staring at a beautifully painted wall our entire lives, only to suddenly notice a hairline fracture. And when we press our ear against that crack, we do not hear the familiar hum of our own universe. We hear something else, something entirely unexpected. We are standing on the precipice of a revelation that could completely shatter our understanding of space, time, and existence itself. We may have accidentally turned the handle on a door we did not even know was there. What lies on the other side could redefine reality. Before we step through that door together, take a moment to subscribe to Brian Greene Theory. If you want to understand the true nature of the cosmos, you are in the exact right place. Now, I want you to forget everything you think you know about the physical world. Let me show you what the data is trying to tell us. I want you to imagine a beautifully crafted, antique pocket watch. The kind your grandfather might have carried. It is wound tight, heavy in the palm of your hand, and ticking with absolute, unwavering precision. If you were to pry open the brass back of that watch, you would reveal dozens of tiny gears, springs, and levers, all working together in perfect mechanical harmony. Every piece has a designated purpose. Every movement is predictable. For the last 50 years, my colleagues and I have been taking apart the pocket watch of the universe. We have looked past the illusion of everyday life, past the solid wood of the chair you are sitting in, past the flesh and bone of our own hands, to find the microscopic gears that drive existence. We call our understanding of these inner workings the standard model of particle physics. It is, without a doubt, the most successful scientific theory humanity has ever constructed. It is a mathematical poem, a master blueprint that describes exactly what you, the stars in the night sky, and the earth beneath our feet are truly made of. According to this master blueprint, everything in the cosmos is built from a handful of fundamental ingredients. Imagine just 12 distinct building blocks of matter. We have the quarks, which bind together in a tight embrace to form the protons and neutrons inside the atoms of your body. We have the electrons buzzing endlessly around those atomic cores, giving rise to electricity, chemistry, and life itself. And we have the elusive neutrinos, ghost particles that stream through your body by the trillions every single second, without you ever feeling a single one. To govern these building blocks, the universe employs 4 fundamental forces. Gravity holds us to the earth. Electromagnetism lights our cities. The strong nuclear force binds the core of the atom together, and the weak force powers the burning furnace of the sun. It is a masterpiece of cosmic architecture. It is elegant. It is symmetrical. And for a long time, we believed it was complete, but there was a lingering problem. For decades, there was a missing gear in our mathematical pocket watch. We knew the foundational pieces of the universe had mass, but the equations of the standard model could not explain why. To solve this, theoretical physicists proposed an invisible, energetic field stretching across all of space, a field that drags on particles and gives them their mass. We needed to find the particle associated with this field. the famous Higgs boson. That pursuit is exactly why we built the Large Hadron Collider at CERN. To find this missing piece, we had to do something that sounds almost barbaric. Imagine trying to understand how that delicate antique pocket watch works, not by carefully unscrewing the pieces, but by firing two of them at each other at blistering speeds and studying the shattered springs and gears that fly out of the wreckage. That is exactly what we do. We accelerate beams of protons through a 17-mile circular tunnel to 99.99% the speed of light. We smash them together, creating microscopic fireballs that mimic the sheer, terrifying energy of the newborn universe. In July of 2012, that monumental gamble paid off. We found the Higgs boson. I remember the feeling in the scientific community. It was a moment of profound, historic triumph. We had found the final missing piece of the puzzle. The standard model was validated. The grand book of the universe seemed ready to be closed. We patted ourselves on the back, confident that we finally understood the foundational code of reality. But the universe, as I have learned time and time again, has a deeply humbling sense of humor. Science rarely ends with a neat bow. We thought we had reached the end of our journey into the microscopic realm. But as the collider kept running, slamming particles together with even greater ferocity and gathering mountains of new data, the microscopic debris began to tell a different story. The gears flying out of our smashed pocket watches were no longer matching our perfect blueprint. The foundation we spent 50 years building has begun to crack. Imagine flipping a coin. You know the strict rules of probability. If the coin is perfectly balanced, it will land on heads exactly half the time and tails the exact other half. If you flip it 1,000,000 times and it persistently comes up heads 60% of the time, you are forced to confront a single undeniable conclusion. The coin is rigged. There is an unseen weight hidden inside the metal, invisible to your eye, but fundamentally altering the outcome of reality. Right now, deep underground at CERN, my colleagues are flipping subatomic coins. And the universe is coming up heads when it absolutely should not. To understand this deepening mystery, I need to introduce you to a particle called the muon. You can think of the muon as the heavier, slightly unstable cousin of the electron. If an electron is a small glass marble, a muon is a dense lead bowling ball. It is about 200 times more massive, but in every other conceivable way, it is perfectly identical. It carries the exact same electric charge. It interacts with light in the exact same way. According to the standard model, the universe should not play favorites between the marble and the bowling ball. We call this principle leapt universality. It is a bedrock rule of quantum mechanics. It firmly dictates that the fundamental forces of nature must treat electrons and muons with absolute equality. But inside the incredibly complex collision chambers of the Large Hadron Collider, we have been studying the violent deaths of heavy particles known as beauty quarks. When a beauty quark decays, it shatters into a shower of lighter particles. The sacred rules of our mathematical blueprint demand that this decay process must produce electrons just as often as it produces muons, a perfect 50-50 cosmic split. Yet, the massive detectors are seeing something that sends a cold shiver down the spine of every theoretical physicist. The beauty quarks are decaying into electrons noticeably more often than they are decaying into muons. The coin is rigged. The bedrock rule is being broken right in front of our eyes. At first, we thought it was a simple mistake, a glitch in the machine. When you are sifting through billions of microscopic particle collisions, a tiny statistical fluctuation is normal. So, we gathered more data. We ran the experiments again and again, tightening our parameters, looking for the flaw in our own logic. But the anomaly refused to disappear. It sat there in the data, a stubborn, glaring mathematical ghost. I want you to really grasp what this means. If the universe is treating muons differently than electrons, then there is a hidden mechanism at work that we do not know about. There is a hidden hand tilting the scales of reality. What is this hidden hand? The mathematics points to something thrilling and equally terrifying. It points to the existence of an entirely undiscovered fundamental force of nature. Right now, you know of 4 forces: gravity, electromagnetism, and the strong and weak nuclear forces. These 4 govern everything from the orbit of the planets to the light hitting your eyes to the burning of the sun. But this anomaly strongly suggests a 5th force, a force that only makes itself known in the extreme violent environments of subatomic collisions, operating quietly in the shadows of our daily lives. Or perhaps it is not a force, but a completely new, incredibly massive particle, a phantom building block of matter that bubbles up from the quantum vacuum for a trillionth of a second, interferes with the muon, and then vanishes before our physical detectors can capture it. We give these mathematical phantoms names like leptoquarks or Z-prime bosons. But a name is really just a label for our own ignorance. We are finally realizing that the standard model, our beautiful, perfect pocket watch, is not the whole clockwork. It is merely the surface layer of a much deeper, vastly more complex machine. The mystery is no longer about finding a missing piece. It is about realizing we might be looking at an entirely different puzzle. And as we dig deeper into the void left by this anomaly, we are about to stumble into a paradox that defies human common sense entirely. Imagine standing on the deck of a ship in the middle of the Pacific Ocean on a perfectly windless day. You look out over the water, and the surface is like flat glass stretching all the way to the horizon. It looks entirely still. It looks empty. But your mind knows that this stillness is a massive illusion. Beneath that calm surface lies a pitch-black abyss, plunging miles deep, teeming with crushing pressures, unseen currents, and colossal creatures moving silently through the dark. What you see as an empty, peaceful surface is actually the roof of a chaotic, violently active world. I want you to hold on to that image, because it is the exact same illusion you experience every time you look at empty space. For most of human history, we believe that a vacuum was simply a void. If you take a box, pump out all the air, remove every single atom, and shield it from all outside light and radiation, you are left with nothing. Pure, unadulterated emptiness. But as we dug deeper into the quantum foundations of reality, my colleagues and I discovered something profoundly unsettling. Emptiness does not exist. The universe simply does not allow a true void. When we strip away all matter, space itself is still boiling. It is a frothing, violent quantum sea. We call this the quantum vacuum. Within this unseen ocean, subatomic particles are constantly violently tearing themselves out of nothingness, flashing into existence, and then annihilating each other in a fraction of a millisecond. They happen so fast that they cannot be directly captured. They are ghosts. We call them virtual particles. This brings us directly to the paradox. How can something that is essentially a ghost have a physical impact on the real, solid world? How can particles that do not permanently exist alter the behavior of the particles that make up your own body? To understand this paradox, we have to look closely at our heavy bowling ball particle from before, the muon. Like an electron, the muon acts like a microscopic magnet. It spins. And when you place a spinning magnet inside a magnetic field, it wobbles very much like a child's spinning top wobbles as it slows down. The Standard Model, our grand mathematical blueprint, tells us exactly how fast this muon should wobble. It predicts the speed of this wobble with mind-bending precision down to the 12th decimal place. But when we actually measure this wobble in our vast circular magnets, the muon disobeys. It wobbles just a little bit too fast. Why? Because as the muon travels through space, it is not traveling through an empty void. It is pushing through that frothing ocean of virtual particles. These quantum ghosts are constantly bumping into the muon, pulling at it, altering its magnetic wobble. The Standard Model already accounts for all the known ghosts, all the virtual versions of the particles we have already discovered. We calculated their exact influence, but the math no longer adds up. The muon is wobbling in a way that suggests it is colliding with ghosts we have never seen before. Phantoms that do not belong to our accepted blueprint of reality. Think about the sheer weight of this paradox. The solid, measurable world we inhabit is being actively manipulated by an invisible shadow realm. Our physical reality is completely dependent on a chaotic sea of particles that pop into existence, borrow energy from the universe, and vanish before the debt can be collected. And now, something massive and unknown is swimming in that dark ocean. We are no longer just looking for a missing piece of the puzzle. We are being forced to accept that the puzzle itself is resting on a table we cannot see, made of materials we do not understand. The anomalies at CERN and other colliders around the world are not just minor errors. They are the shadows of leviathans moving beneath the surface of our reality. And the closer we look at these shadows, the more we realize they might shatter the very concept of space and time altogether. This is where human intuition entirely breaks down. Look around the room you are sitting in right now. Look at the walls, the ceiling, the floor. We navigate this three-dimensional world with such effortless intuition. Up and down, left and right, forward and backward. We treat space as a static container, an empty stage where the grand drama of the cosmos plays out. For centuries, this was the ultimate, unquestionable truth of human experience. Even when Albert Einstein came along and beautifully proved that space and time are woven together into a flexible fabric, a fabric that can stretch and warp to create gravity, it was still a stage. A stage that bends, certainly, but a stage nonetheless. We have always assumed that the particles we study at CERN are forced to follow the strict contours of this four-dimensional theater. But what if I told you the anomalies we are seeing, the strange behavior of the muon, and the rigged decay of the beauty quark are not just new actors on the stage? What if they are the first profound clues that the stage itself is an illusion? This is where your intuition is going to completely fail you, and it absolutely should. We are about to break reality. Let us try a thought experiment. Imagine a long, incredibly thin garden hose stretching across a massive lawn. If you look at it from a high window 100 feet away, that hose looks like a one-dimensional line. If an ant is walking along it, you would assume the ant can only move forward or backward. But if you walk down to the grass and look closely, you realize the hose has thickness. It has a second dimension wrapping around it. The ant can walk forward, but it can also walk around the circular girth of the hose. From a distance, that circular dimension was completely invisible. We strongly believe, and the advanced mathematics of string theory insists, that the fabric of our universe is exactly like that garden hose. We only experience the big, open dimensions of space. But at every single microscopic point in the room you are in right now, there may be additional dimensions of space. 6 or 7 extra dimensions, curled up and folded into geometrical shapes so unfathomably small that even our most powerful particle accelerators cannot see them directly. You might ask, how does this explain the ghosts inside the particle accelerator? Think about gravity. Have you ever paused to wonder why gravity is so spectacularly weak? A tiny, very cheap magnet on your refrigerator can hold up a piece of paper, completely overpowering the gravitational pull of the entire planet Earth. That makes absolutely no sense. By all logic, gravity should be a titan, but what if gravity is not weak? What if gravity is actually just as strong as the other fundamental forces, but it is leaking? Imagine it leaking out of our familiar 3 dimensions and bleeding into those microscopic, curled up, hidden dimensions. If gravity and certain heavy, undiscovered particles are allowed to move through these hidden corridors of space, they would appear to us exactly like ghosts. They would pop in, alter the wobble of a muon, or rig the decay of a quark, and vanish back into a geometry we physically cannot perceive. This is the moment everything changes. The solid world you feel around you is a projection. The empty space between your hands right now is not empty. It is a dense, violent, vibrating labyrinth of hidden spatial dimensions. The anomalies at CERN are not just mathematical errors. They might be the sound of unseen particles echoing off the walls of dimensions you and I cannot even imagine. We have spent our entire lives trying to solve a 3-dimensional puzzle, only to suddenly realize the pieces are moving through a hyperspace we are blind to. We are being forced to completely redraw the fundamental map of existence. And the hardest truth we have to face is not that the universe is stranger than we imagined. The hardest truth is that we might be fundamentally incapable of seeing the real universe at all. Think about the process of growing older. As the decades pass, you feel the steady, unstoppable march of time. You look in the mirror and see your face change. You watch the seasons shift, and you experience your life as a continuous, unbroken chain of events happening in a solid, familiar world. This perception of reality is incredibly convincing. In fact, it is the only reality your brain has ever known. Evolution spent millions of years hardwiring you to believe in the absolute solidity of the world around you. Why? Because you do not need to understand 10-dimensional space-time to outrun a predator, to build a fire, or to find your way home. You just need to know that a rock is hard, that water flows, and that the ground will hold your weight. So, we built our entire civilization and our entire scientific method upon this deeply ingrained macroscopic intuition. For 400 years, since the days of Isaac Newton, we have tried to explain the universe by scaling down the objects we interact with every single day. We imagined atoms as tiny, very solid billiard balls bouncing off of one another. We imagined the solar system as a giant, predictable clockwork mechanism. And when we constructed the Large Hadron Collider in Europe, we fundamentally approached the universe with that exact same mindset. We genuinely believed that if we smashed the atomic billiard balls together with enough violent force, we would simply find smaller, more fundamental billiard balls inside. But here is the hard truth. The universe has absolutely zero obligation to make sense to a primate brain. The anomalies we are now detecting at CERN are not just mathematical puzzles meant for academics. They are a glaring, inescapable warning sign telling us that our everyday metaphors have finally completely failed. When a muon wobbles just a fraction of a percent too fast, or a beauty quark decays in a rigged pattern that defies the laws of physics, we are not looking at a broken piece of machinery. We are looking at a fundamental language of nature that we literally lack the biological hardware to visualize. We are trying to read a masterpiece written in an alien, pure mathematical language, using the crude vocabulary of a cave dweller. We are being forced to abandon the very concept of a particle as a tiny physical object. 3. If we follow the mathematics of quantum fields and string theory to their ultimate terrifying conclusion, there is no solid matter at all. There are no tiny spheres waiting to be found. There is only vibration. There are only invisible, infinite fields of energy stretching across the limitless dark of the cosmos, plucking out microscopic notes like strings on a cello. You are not made of stuff. You are made of music. You are a localized, incredibly complex symphony of quantum vibrations interacting with other vibrations in a multidimensional space we cannot even begin to see. And this realization terrifies many of my colleagues. Because it means the ultimate truth of our reality can never be drawn on a chalkboard. It can never be modeled as a three-dimensional shape that you can hold in your hand. When we look at the immense streams of data pouring out of Switzerland, we are seeing the faint shadow of a master architecture that is entirely abstract. The hard truth is that reality, at its absolute deepest level, is not a physical place. It is pure, unfiltered mathematics operating outside the boundaries of human comprehension. We are walking, breathing equations, dreaming that we are flesh and bone. And the deeper we dig into the quantum realm, the more the comforting illusion of the physical world dissolves, leaving us standing entirely alone, face to face with a staggering, incomprehensible abyss. Imagine standing on the shore of a vast, uncharted ocean. For centuries, humanity has stared at the horizon, believing it was the absolute edge of the world. We mapped the shoreline with exquisite detail. We built sturdy ships of logic and mathematics. We named the currents, and we thought we understood the tides. That shoreline is the physics of the last century. It is the standard model. It is the comforting, visible reality you and I walk through every single day. But the anomalies we are now seeing, the faint whispers coming from the massive detector rings beneath the French and Swiss border, are the equivalent of spotting a strange, very unfamiliar mast rising up from over that very horizon. It is the terrifying, exhilarating realization that the ocean does not end where our vision fails. We have not reached the limits of physics. We have simply reached the limits of our local neighborhood. Think back to the great scientific awakenings of our past. When Isaac Newton mathematically described gravity, he united the heavens and the earth with a single stroke of logic. He gave us a predictable clockwork universe. Hundreds of years later, Albert Einstein shattered that clockwork, showing us that time and space are a flexible, bending fabric. Then, the pioneers of quantum mechanics shattered the smooth fabric of relativity, revealing a microscopic realm of probability, uncertainty, and chaotic energy. Every time we thought we had the ultimate final answer, the universe gently but firmly reminded us that we were only looking at a shadow on the cave wall. Now, it is our turn. The data pouring out of Europe is the hammer poised to shatter the quantum framework we have relied on for over half a century. If the muon is truly being pulled by an unknown fifth force of nature, if there are phantom particles sliding gracefully between dimensions, it means our current grand theory is just a rough approximation, a childish sketch of a multidimensional masterpiece. What happens when we finally sail past that horizon? I believe we are on the verge of the greatest conceptual revolution in human history. If the universe is truly governed by hidden geometries and unseen titanic forces, we are about to rewrite the fundamental story of our existence. We will finally bridge the agonizing gap between the microscopic quantum world and the immense cosmic scale of gravity. We might discover that the Big Bang was not the beginning of everything, but merely a collision of higher dimensional surfaces. We might find that the mysterious dark energy tearing our universe apart is just gravity leaking from realms we cannot yet perceive. We are not just uncovering new particles. We are uncovering the true operating system of existence itself. Journeys like this, deep into the bleeding edge of human knowledge, require time, deep focus, and a relentless dedication to the truth. If you have followed me this far into the dark, if this exploration has shifted your perspective and expanded your mind, I want to invite you to help keep this grand journey going. Below this video, you will see a button labeled Super Thanks. Using that feature directly supports my ability to continue breaking down the deepest mysteries of the cosmos for you. It allows us to bypass the noise and focus purely on the science, on the profound truths, and on the incredible universe we find ourselves in. I deeply appreciate every single one of you who chooses to support this channel. We have broken the antique pocket watch. We have peered beneath the dark ocean of the quantum vacuum. We have challenged the very fabric of space and time. We have opened the door to a completely new reality. But the most profound question still remains. When the dust scientific revolution finally settles and we gaze upon the true, unvarnished face of reality, what will it mean for you and me?